Hey friends, Paul here. Lately I've been doing a lot of research into cards, as in the French deck of playing cards, 52 cards, and going through the history from ancient China to ancient Egypt into Italy in the 1500s with the tarot deck, and the evolution into Western Europe with the French deck. Really and truly, cards are a metaphor, first and foremost, for money, plain and simple, even going back to ancient China. The coins are the primary suit of a card. In our French deck, they are diamonds. In the German-Hungarian deck, they correspond to bells, bells associated with nobility and wealth. So it's interesting how the evolution of cards takes place, because it can be very confusing. But after doing some research, in French in the Middle Ages, this diamond symbol was referred to as the denier, or penny, again referring to money. It's also taken the word the carreau, or red paving tiles. Red paving tiles, guys, what does that have to do with money? It's kind of unknown, but suffice to say the word for paving tiles has nothing to do with diamant in French, or diamonds, but that's what we call this in our 52 card French deck, diamonds. In tarot, pentacles. So coins, diamonds, pentacles. Hearts historically were cups, or are cups in the tarot. Now that's interesting symbolism in a way, that the heart flows with blood, just as a cup overfloweth with sustaining liquid of your choosing. But cups and hearts, I can kind of see that connection there. That's what I'm talking about, the symbolism, the archetypes. To carry on, this is the club suit, but it has nothing to do as what a club, like a wooden primitive club, looks like, because that is the archetypal symbol, is a wooden club. How did this get to be clubs? Well, it's interesting because in Europe, like in the German-Hungarian cards, the club suit took on acorns as a botanical symbol, just as the French adopted the trèfle, or clover symbol, English trefoil symbol. But apparently, the English were familiar with Italian tarot of the 1500s, so when the French card printers, who were at the forefront of card printing, the French, when they introduced their trèfle suit, the English called them what? Clubs, referring back to the ancient Italian suit. So it gets very confusing because the clover, it looks nothing like a club, but that's what we call it. And to finish, the spade suit in Latin, Italian, is known as the swords, or la spada. Spada being spade. Well, in the German deck, the spades became leaves. Looks like a hop leaf, but regardless, it's a botanical, vinous kind of leaf. Beautiful card. And in French, they became these pike heads, which looks somewhat similar to a sword, in that it's a weapon with a spear point, but it certainly is not la spada, or sword. However, because the English were exposed to the ancient tarot of the 1500s from Italy, we refer to the French pikehead as what? The spade. So very interesting, the origins of our suits. And now you know the backstory to that. Or as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. Another interesting thing about the cards are the historical figureheads assigned to the cards. So in hearts here, with the Queen of Hearts, that's historically Judith, or Emperor Charlemagne's son's wife. You got that? Judith, Charlemagne's son's wife. Charlemagne, the Roman Empire emperor of around 800, who was he was Frankish, or born in the French region today. So he's really a French folk hero, is Charlemagne. And since these are all French decks, you're going to see a lot of French heroism, as it were. So that's Judith. In the diamonds, the Queen of Diamonds, we have Rachel. In the Bible, Rachel is Jacob's wife. And she is prominent because Jacob and Rachel were the forebears of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And the club's queen is called Argene, which is an anagram for Regina. You can spell Argene Regina, which in Latin means queen. Anagram for Regina, Argene. And the Queen of Spades poking out there is the Greco-Roman queen, none other but Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena. So the King of Hearts here is Charlemagne himself. Roman Empire Emperor, AD 800. Julius Caesar is the King of Diamonds. Alexander the Great, 300 BC, is the King of Clubs. I want to make sure you can see their faces. And the King of Spades is King David of the Bible. Cards were essentially played as far as games, again representing money as a metaphor. However, they began to have signs of divination or fortune-telling, soothsaying, especially around times of the tarot, even though the tarot is a card game before it was ever a divination vehicle. Having said that, the Knave has always had a tone about him as immature, can be immature, but can also be, of course, the lover and inspiring and full of ideas. So I find the Knave's kind of meaning, if you want to assign a meaning to a card in the 52 card deck, quite fun, because he can either be quite immature, but he's the one who's full of ideas, and of course he is indeed the lover. The Jack or Knave of Hearts is Lahire. In Diamonds is Hector, the famous Trojan War soldier, Hector. The Cloves Knight or Knave is Sir Lancelot of Arthurian legend. And the Knave of Spades is Ogier the Dane, again, of Charlemagne legend. Ogier the Dane, the Knave or Jack of Spades. So we call it ace based on the Latin as assis, meaning equal to 1 penny. So that's what the ace is all about. I'll put up some images here to a special collections library visit I did recently, unearthing books from the 1800s with beautiful representations of cards through antiquity, including, as I mentioned, the club's suit with the wooden club, or Germanic suits where here's a card where the knave is a deer head, and others of a wild man and a wild woman, king and queen with hairy kind of deer legs. Interesting politically, during the French Revolution, the French card printers took the crowns off of the kings and queens and replaced them just with a headband to make a political statement, as to say, we don't want any crown-bearing kings and queens in our card games. And also these quite bawdy, disgusting early German suits as well, which is actually pretty humorous. As far as divination goes, there were a couple notable figures, Etiella and Mademoiselle Lenormand in the early 1800s in France, who were especially noted for divination and even counseling Napoleon as well. Wealthy people would go to these diviners and have their cards read. It was a crime punishable by death if you forged the tax seal on cards. Interesting that two of the prominent suits of the four suits have to do with weaponry. One has to do with love, and the other one with money. Typically, the meaning of money is assigned to the diamond suit. However, apparently the club's suit also indicates matters of commerce and business. Curiously, the suit with the darkest tone is spades. And you'll find that in divination or fortune telling, where stuff of ill omen or warning often takes place in spades cards. I look forward to reading your comments and suggestions for future videos to keep me motivated. You guys have a great evening.